Hello, student. This is your teacher Abdul Rafiq, and today, as per your request, we will do some exam kit question. Okay, starting from question number one, we have done IE 16, 38, 40, 41, 3, 20, 36, and we have done IFRS 15, 37. We have done IFRS 15 and IFRS 5. So our main focus is to cover these standards in the exam kit. Okay, starting from question number one. This is from IE 16. So what is required first? Identify whether the cost listed below should be capitalized or expense. So it's from capital or revenue expenditure. Okay, we know that capital expenditure enhance the future economic benefit and it can be recovered. Okay, if we want to sell that asset, it can be recovered or it can be charged to the customer. On the other hand, revenue expenditure does not enhance your economic benefit and it should be charged and expense immediately. So clearance of the site prior to the commencement of construction, we know that we have done that in IE 16 and site preparation is basically a capital expenditure. Professional surveyor fees for managing the construction work, that is also directly attributable cost, capital expenditure. EW own staff wage for time spent working on the construction. Normally, the staff wages is basically a salary expense and recorded in the statement of profit and loss. But this time, the staff that basically we have paid the staff wages for time spent working on the construction, so it will be a capital expenditure. A proportion of EW administration costs based on staff time spent. So administration is basically a general administration cost and it should be expense out, and it is basically a revenue expenditure. Okay. So next question is question number two. What is the total charge to statement of profit and loss in respect of decommissioning for the year ended 30th June 2025? So the question required you find the expense for the year. So our focus is totally on the statement of profit and loss, and the period required is basically 30th June 20x5. Okay. So on 1st July 20x4, 1 year before, experimenter opened a chemical reprocessing plant. The plant was due to be active for 5 years until 30th June 20x5. So basically this plant has a useful life of 5 years when it would be decommissioned. So decommissioning costs, we do know that if the decommissioning cost related to the removal of asset, and if it has a legal or constructive obligation, this decommissioning cost should be capitalized. Okay. At 1st July 20x4, the cost of decommissioning plant were estimated to be 4 million. So this is expected cost that would be incurred after 5 years, 4 million. So what we're gonna do is basically we have to discount this 4 million into present value using the formula 1 plus r raised to power minus n, where r is the discount factor. Always take the discount factor in decimals, and n is the number of years. Okay. Experimenter consider that a discount rate of 12% would be appropriate for the calculation of the present value, and the discount factor of 12% for the 5 year is 0.567. So if you calculate this 1.12 raised to power minus 5, you will get 0.567. They have provided you the discount factor, but you must know how to calculate the discount factor. So simply by multiplying the decommissioning cost with the present value, 4 multiplied by 0.567, this should be capitalized. Okay, let me for you. This is 4 million 567. So this give you 2.268 million. So this is the amount that should be capitalized. Okay, But the question requires you to calculate the expense for there. First, because we have capitalized this, we need to depreciate this asset over the 5 year. We need to depreciate this cost over the 5 year. So what is the depreciation? So depreciation expenses 453,600, and because we have this is the present value, okay, and year by year we need to compound this or unwind interest on that, okay. So the interest cost will be 226800 into 12%. This is 272160. So these are two costs which should be expensed out in the statement of profit and loss. And this give you 725760. So B is the right answer. Okay. So the question requires you to calculate what you need to charge in the statement of profit and loss for the year ended 30th June 2025. We have discounted this 4 million, okay, into present value, and the present value is 2268. We know that this is capitalized in the asset and it should be depreciated. So depreciation should be taken. And because we have discounted that, the unwinding of interest should also be charged, okay. So the interest of this should be also be charged. So your answer is 725760. Next question. What is the gain on disposal of the property that would be reported in the statement of profit and loss for the year to 30th June 2027? So we need to calculate the gain or loss. Okay. An entity purchased a property for 6 million on 1st July 2023. You required it as 30th June 2027. So 4 years back. The land element of the purchase was 1 million. The expected life of the building was 50 years. Okay. And its residual value is nil. It's a simple depreciation related question of I-16. On 30th June, this is the second day. The property was revalued to 7 million, of which the land element is 1.24 million and the building element is 5.76. On 30th June 2027, the property was sold for 6.8 million. So we have to apply the component accounting because there are two elements in the property. One is land, which is not appreciated here, and one is building, which have a useful life of 50 years. So we need to depreciate that building for 50 years. So land, building, and this is total property. So when we purchase the land on 1st July, year end is 30th June. So 1st July 03, the property value is 6 million, of which 1 million related to land and 5 million related to building. Okay. So next date is basically 30th June 20x5. So on 30th June, we have to calculate 30th June 03, 04, and 05. So we have to calculate the 3-year depreciation first. Okay. So depreciation is basically for 3 years, 5,000 divided by 50 into 3. So it is 300. 3-year depreciation will be 300. So at 30th June 05, the value of land will be, the carrying amount of land is 1000 and building 4700, and the total value of the property is 700. Okay. Now on this date, we have to revalue the asset to 7 million. So 7 million means there is a gain of 1300, right? From 5700 we need to take the asset to 7,000. So there is a gain of 1300, and they have given you the values of components. The land is valued at 1240, so it means a revaluation of 240 is done on the land, and the building is 5760. So it means 1060 should be recorded on building. Okay. So next date is 30th June 20x7. So calculate 30th June. We need to calculate depreciation of 30th June 20x6 and then 30th June 20x7. So 2A depreciation will be required for building. The value of building is basically 5760 divided by 47. The useful life of the land was 50 years. We have used the land for 3 years. So the remaining life is 47 years. So the depreciation, 1 year depreciation would be, we need 2 year depreciation. So depreciation is 2450. Okay. So this is the depreciation. So 7,000 minus 2450 give you 6755, around 6755, and you have sold the asset for 60. So basically recheck it because the depreciation is not done yet. Let me recalculate it. It is around 240. $7,000. This will give you 670, and you have sold it for 6,800. So it means you receive a gain of 40,000. So the gain of 40,000. So the answer is A. Next question is basically from the grant IS 20. This question is from IS 20. What is the deferred income liability balance at 30th June? So the question is basically from statement of financial position. Okay. Let me a manufacturing entity receive a grant of 1 million towards the purchase of machine on 1st January 2020. We know that it's a capital expenditure because it's a capital grant. They have provided you grant on the condition that you have to purchase the machine. So it's a capital grant. And we know that there are two ways to recognize a capital grant. One is deduct from the carrying amount. Let me show you the Excel. Two ways to record the capital grant. One is to deduct from carrying amount of the asset, and the other one is to defer. Because they have mentioned the deferred income liability, so obviously they are using this deferred method. Okay. So when they have received the grant, they have credit the grant as a liability. Debit cash of 1 million and credit deferred grant or deferred income 1 million on 1st January 20x3. Okay. The grant will be repayable if the entity sell the asset within 4 years, which it doesn't intend to do. The asset has a useful life of 5 years. So basically, the primary condition of the grant is to use the asset for 4 years. Okay. The useful life of the asset is 5. So each year they have to, over the 5 years, they will be recognizing the income from this liability. They will be transferring some amount to income statement from this liability. Okay. So the question requires you to find the balance on 30th June 20x3. Okay. So 30th June 20x3, basically you have consumed the benefit for 6 months, right? So for 6 months you have to transfer 6-year grant into the income statement. So 1000 divided by 5 into 6 by 12. This should be transferred to the income statement, and this is 100. So the grant that will be recorded in the balance sheet, because you have initially recorded 1000 and you have transferred 100 to SOPL. So the remaining balance of deferred grant income at 30 June is 900. This is the answer. Question number 5 is also from government grant, and the question requires you to calculate what should be recorded in the financial statement on 1st January 20x. So financial statement comprises of both statement of profit and loss and statement of financial. So let's just read the scenario. This is the reporting date. On 1st January 20x1, just 1 year before the reporting date, has received 1 million from the local government on the condition that they employ at least 100 staff each year for the next 4 years. Due to an economic downturn and reduced consumer demand on 1st January 20x2, the reporting date, S no longer needed to employ any more staff, and the condition of grant required full repayment. So basically, this is a revenue grant, and we know that grant requires some conditions. Okay, because you have failed to fulfill the condition, so that's why you need to repay the full amount. Okay. First, they have used deferred income. Okay, because you can see here deferred income everywhere. Okay, so they have used deferred income, and they were amortizing the grant over the period of 4 years time. Okay, so basically what they did is recorded on 1st January 20x1, they debit the cash for 1 million and credit deferred grant in statement of financial position for 1 million. Okay, because in the first year they were thinking that they will meet the condition, so they have recorded they have amortized this deferred grant into the statement of profit and loss. Okay. So 1000 divided by 4, 250, it means they have recorded this 250 in statement of profit and loss, reducing the deferred grant to 750. Now, as company have recorded the 1 million grant in the financial statement, of which 250 has been recorded in statement of profit and loss, and 750 has been recorded in the statement of financial position. So we need to reduce deferred income by 750 and recognize a loss of 250. Okay, how to reduce? Repay that grant, credit cash 1000, debit deferred grant, statement of financial position 750, and debit statement of profit and loss with 250. So B is the option. Next question is, which of the following properties owned by Scoop would be classified as an investment property? Basically the question from IS 40. We know that investment property is basically property acquired for rental purpose or for capital appreciation. Okay. A property that has been leased to tenant but which is no longer required and is now being held for resale. So this is basically IFRS 5 held for sale. This is not IS 40. Land purchased for its investment potential. Planning permission has not been obtained for building construction of any kind. So you have purchased the property for investment potential. So this is IS 40. A new office building used by Scoop head office purchased specifically in order to exploit its capital gain potential. Okay. So this is office building. Although it is acquired for capital gain, but they are using it. So this is IS 16. A state home used for executive training. This is also IS 16. Okay. Next question. This is from borrowing cost, IS 23. During the current year, an entity had in place 1 million 6% loan finance and 2 million of 9% loan. It is constructed a new factory which costs 6 lakh, and this was funded out of the existing loan finance. The factory took 8 months to complete. So this is a general borrowing. Okay, because there are two different rates. Okay, so we need to calculate a capitalization rate. So it is simply calculated by interest expense divided by total borrowings. Okay, so interest expense of 6% would be this 1 million in percent plus 2 million into 9%. Divided by 1 plus 2, 3 million. So the borrowing cost or capitalization rate is 8%. Okay. So 600 is basically utilized to construct a building which is a qualifying asset, and for 8 months. So we need to find 6 lakh into 8% into 8 by 12. This is 32,000. 32,000. So which of the following statement is correct? Statement number 1. If the revaluation model is used for property, plant and equipment, revaluation must subsequently be made with sufficient regularity to ensure that the carrying amount does not differ materially from their fair value at each reporting date. This is true. Okay. We have to calculate on regular basis. Okay, so that the carrying amount does not differ materially from the fair value. State number 2. When an item of property, plant and equipment is revalued, there is no requirement that the entire class of the asset to which the item belongs must be revalued. So this is false, because if you are applying revaluation model on a car, all the cars or all the vehicles, because the entire class must be revalued, must be recorded under the revaluation model. If you are applying the revaluation model on property, all the properties of the company must be recorded or treated under revaluation model. So the entire cost should be recorded. What is the adjustment required to account correctly for the grant? Okay, we have done 2 questions for grant. So next question. He acquired a new office building on 1st October 2024. Its initial carrying amount consisted of land, building structure, and air conditioning. Okay. So we have 3 assets. The question requires you to calculate at what amount will the office building be shown in statement of financial position at 31st March 2025. Okay. So this is 6 months before the reporting date. Okay. So we need to find out the statement of financial position value. So let me note here the depreciation. This will be the carrying amount. You know that land normally do not depreciate. Okay. So the land will be recorded as 2000. The estimated life of the building structure and air conditioning system are 25 years and 10 years respectively. When the air conditioning system is due for replacement, it is estimated that old system will be dismantled and sold for 5 lakh. So the useful life of the building is 25 years. So we need to depreciate this asset for 25 years, and we have to take a 6-month depreciation. Okay. So 10,000. So 6-month depreciation is basically 200. So this will be 9,800. The carrying amount of the building at 31st March 2025 will be 9,800. Okay. So for air conditioning system, we know that this is basically the residual value. So the depreciation would be 4,000 minus 500 divided by 10 into 6 by 12. So this is 175, 6-month depreciation. 4,000 minus 175, 385. So the total carrying amount would be 15625. So A is the right option. So next question is also from the IS 16. Kindly solve this question by yourself. IS 20, government grant. So IS 20, which 2 of the following statements about IS 20 for government grant and disclosure of government assets are true? A government grant related to the purchase of asset must be deducted from the carrying amount of the asset in the statement of financial statement. So this is the capital grant. Okay, and we know that capital grant can either be deducted from the carrying amount or be recorded as a deferred grant. So this is not true. Okay. A government grant related to the purchase of assets should be recognized in profit and loss over the life of asset. This is true, because we have to apply the matching concept. Free marketing advice provided by government department is excluded from the definition of government grant, right? This is also true. This is government assistance. Okay. Government grant is basically when there is a transfer of resource. Okay. This is not the transfer of resource, although government is providing benefit to you, so this will be treated as government assistance. Okay. Any required repayment of government grant received in earlier reporting period is treated prior to prior period adjustment. Not true. Next question is from what is the total net amount to be recorded in the statement of profit and loss in respect to the of the office for the year ended 31st December 2025. Purchase a new building for 10 million. So this is from IS 40. Okay, let's solve this question. So the reporting date is 31st December 2025. As company purchased a new building with 50 years life for 10 million on 1st January 2023, 2 years back, 3 years back. On 30th June 2025, during the year, during the reporting date, as company moved out to the building and rented it to third parties on a short-term lease. So on 1st January, this is the reporting date, 31st December 20x5. This is the reporting date. And this is the reporting year, 1st January 20x5. Okay. The asset was purchased on 1st January 20x3. At this point, they have moved the asset from IS 16 to IS 14. Okay, at this point, and this date is 30th June 20x5. So before this date, we need to we were recording this asset as IS 16, so it was depreciated according to their useful life. Okay, so now the thing is, at the reclassification date, we have to review the fair value, and the fair value gain at the reclassification date will be recorded in revaluation reserve. Once the asset has been recorded as IS 14, any gain after this date will be recorded in SOPL. So इस डेट से पहले आपके पास, इस डेट से पहले आपने इसको डेप्रिशिएट करना है, इस डेट के दिन आपने रिव्यू करना है उसकी फेयर वैल्यू, और जो भी गेन आएगा, जो कि आपके पास क्या कह सकते हैं हम इसको, हैंड ओवर प्रोसीजर होता है, उसके मुताबिक आपने वो गेन IS 16, इस डेट पे जो गेन होगा वो आपने IS 16 की तरह रिकॉर्ड करना है, इसके बाद जो गेन आएगा वो आपने IS 40 की तरह रिकॉर्ड करना है. ठीक है. अब क्वेश्चन में आपसे पूछा गया कि स्टेटमेंट ऑफ प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस में क्या जाएगा. ठीक है. सो स्टेटमेंट ऑफ प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस का मतलब ये इस पूरी स्टेटमेंट ऑफ फाइनेंशियल पोजीशन में क्या जाएगा. तो पहले तो 6 महीने की डेप्रिसिएशन जाएगी, वो भी हम फाइंड आउट कर लेते हैं कि वो कितनी होगी. तो हम ये देखते हैं कि हमारे पास 30 जून को हमारे पास कितनी डेप्रिसिएशन चार्ज हुई है और एसेट की वैल्यू क्या. ठीक है. तो हमारे एसेट था 10 मिलियन का, हम इसको राउंड ऑफ कर देते हैं 10,000 तक, डिवाइडेड बाय 50. तो आपकी पर ईयर डेप्रिसिएशन आ रही है 200. 6 मंथ्स की डेप्रिसिएशन कितनी होगी? 100. फ्रॉम 1st जनवरी टू 30 जून हमने इसको 2.5 ईयर्स तक यूज़ किया है. तो टोटल डेप्रिसिएशन जो इसकी चार्ज हो चुकी होगी, और इस दिन हमारे पास कैरिंग अमाउंट होगी 10,000 माइनस 2.5 ईयर्स डेप्रिसिएशन विच इज़ 500. तो इस डेट जिस दिन हमने उसको IS 16 से IS 40 बनाना है, उस दिन इसकी कैरिंग अमाउंट है 9,500. तो एट 30 जून द फेयर वैल्यू ऑफ द प्रॉपर्टी वॉज 11 मिलियन। अब क्योंकि ये रिक्लासिफिकेशन डेट पे उसकी फेयर वैल्यू है तो वो गेन आपके पास जाएगा एसओपीएल में 11,000 और 9,500 का जो गैप है वो बेसिकली है आपका 1,500। तो आपका एक तो गेन आपके पास जाएगा एसओपीएल में 1,500 का, तो ये गेन आ रहा है 1,500। ठीक है, और फिर आपके पास एक डेप्रिसिएशन भी है 100 की, वो भी जाएगी 6 मंथ्स की डेप्रिसिएशन। At 30 June, the fair value of the property 11 million, and at 31st December 20x5, its fair value has been increased to 11.5 million. ये गेन उसने क्वेश्चन में रिक्वायर्ड नहीं किया, उसने स्टेटमेंट ऑफ प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस का बोला हुआ है। तो आपके पास टोटल जो जा रहा होगा वो दैट इज 1,400 जा रहा है। यहाँ पे कोई क्वेश्चन मेरा मे बी समथिंग इज रॉन्ग, मैं इसको दोबारा सॉल्व कर लेता हूँ। तो सॉरी, ये आपके पास ये गेन आपका रिवैल्यूएशन रिजर्व में जाना था। दिस इज रिवैल्यूएशन रिजर्व बिकॉज ये आपका ये 16 की तरह डील होना है। उसके बाद जो आपके पास गेन है दैट इज़ 11 मिलियन टू 500, तो ये आपके पास गेन है 500 का, ये आपका एसओपीएल में जाना है। आपने 6 मंथ्स की डेप्रिसिएशन जो है रिकॉर्ड की है बैलेंस सॉरी एसओपीएल में, और उसके बाद ये गेन, तो नेट इनकम आपके पास जो जा रही है वो जा रही है 400, दैट इज़ अ गेन। मैं फिर से रिपीट कर देता हूँ, ये 1,500 अकॉर्डिंग टू आई 16 रिकॉर्ड होना है, और ये एज अ रीवैल्यूएशन रिजर्व होगा, ये एसओपीएल में नहीं जाएगा। यहाँ पे मैंने बताया भी था लेकिन आ, मैं शायद रिकॉर्ड करना भूल गया। ठीक है? आपका सिर्फ ये गेन एसओपीएल में जाएगा जो कि वंस इट हैज़ बीन रिकॉर्डेड एज IS40। ओके, तो इन फेयर वैल्यू मॉडल एनी गेन और लॉस विल बी रिकॉर्डेड डायरेक्टली इन एसओपीएल, एंड in fair value model there is no need to depreciate the asset. Okay. The next question is from borrowing cost. So what are the total borrowing to be capitalized in respect of the warehouse? So he took out a 7.5 million 10% loan on 1st January 2086 to build a new warehouse during the year. So this is a specific borrowing. Construction of the warehouse began on 1st February 2086 and was completed on 30th November 2086. As not all the funds were needed immediately, he invested 2 million in 4.5% bonds from 1st January to 1st May 2086. Let me show what is the treatment of borrowing cost. Okay. In specific borrowing, because this is a specific borrowing, temporary investment will follow the borrowing cost. Okay. So if we are recording borrowing cost in statement of financial position, temporary income from temporary investment will be also recorded in statement of financial position. If we are recording borrowing cost in statement of profit and loss, the temporary income earned during that phase will also be recorded in statement of profit and loss. So question requires you to find the total borrowing cost to be capitalized in respect of the warehouse. they emphasizes on borrowing cost, not the total cost of the asset. So our focus is on the borrowing cost. Okay, so let me draw the timeline here again. So this is our timeline. Okay, according to the question, we have taken loan on 1st January. So the borrowing cost incurred here and the expenditure incurred here, right? But the activity started on 1st February 2026 and completed on 30th November 2026. Okay. Activity started on February and completed on 30th November. So activity completed. There is no normal delays and abnormal delays in this period. We have also invested temporary investment. We have already did the temporary investment. Okay, and we have invested the amount on 1st January to 1st May. So basically, this to from this year to 1st May, it means April. 1st May is basically 30th April, right? Here, because activity has not been started, so SOPL, interest will be recorded in SOPL. Okay. Here we have the activity, we have the borrowing cost, we have the expenditure, all three are present here and this on this date, so SOFP. Okay. And throughout November till November, SOFP. Okay. After that, SOP. In the first month, the temporary income will be recorded or will follow the borrowing cost. So it will be recorded in SOPL. In the next 3 months, it will be recorded in SOFP. Because in February, borrowing cost is recorded in SOFP, so the temporary investment will also be recorded in SOFP. In March and April, it will also be recorded like borrowing cost in SOFP. So the total loan we have taken is 7.5 million. Excel. There are 10 months. Into discount rate, which is 10%, into 10 by 12. So this is 6,25,000. The temporary investment should be deducted from the borrowing cost. It is, we have invested 2 million for 4.5%, 3 months. 2 million into 3 by 12. So the 602500 is the answer. This is the amount. This is the borrowing cost. 602500. This is the answer. Question number 15 is from IS 40. Okay, let's just if C company uses the fair value model for investment property, what gain should be recorded in statement of profit and loss for the year ended 31st December 2023? So statement of profit and loss required here. He acquired a building with a 40-year life for its investment potential for 8 million on 1st January 2023. Okay. At 31st December, the fair value of property was estimated to be 9 million, with the cost to sell estimated at 100. So the gain of 8 million to 9 million, there is a gain of 1 million that should be recorded here. statement of profit and loss. Cost to sell is not included here. Next question is, okay, this is from intangible assets and about the consolidated financial statement. So for the time being, we haven't done consolidated consolidations. Leave this question. So question number 17. Which of the following could be classified as development expenditure in M statement of financial position as of 31st March 20Y0 according to IS 38 intangible assets? We know that for development we need to follow some criteria to capitalize the development expenditure, and the criteria may be high rate, probability of future economic benefit. Let me show you. Intention to create or sell, resource ability, technical feasibility to create or sell, and expenditure can be measured reliably. Okay, if you have the following criteria met, so you after then only then once all the points in the criteria has been met or fulfilled, only then you can only after then you will be capitalizing the borrowing cost. Okay. So for A, 120,000 spent on developing a prototype and testing a new type of propulsion system. The project needs further work on it. A system is currently not viable. So criteria is not meeting here. A payment of 50,000 to local university engineering faculty to research new environmentally friendly building techniques. So this is the research. This research is always expensive because research is an expired cost. 35,000 developing an electric bicycle. This is near completion and the product will be launched soon, as this project is first of its kind and it is expected to make loss. So this is loss making. It will not give you future economic benefits. So criteria again failed here. 65,000 developing a special type of new packaging for new energy efficient light. The packaging is expected to reduce M distribution cost. So basically, it is reducing the cost. So it is considered as economic. It is providing economic benefit to the company. So D is a development asset. Okay. Question number 18 is basically which two of the following factors are reason why key staff cannot be classified as an asset? They cannot be controlled. They do not provide, they cannot be controlled, right? Their value cannot be measured. They are not separable from the business as of E and C is the answer here. This is from IS 38. Let's see this question. So basically the question requires you to calculate a development expenditure. What should be recorded in statement of financial? A company carries out research and development in the year ended 30th June 20x5. Incurred total cost in relation to the project of 750,000, spending the same amount each month up to 30th April 20x5. When the project was completed, the product produced by the project went on sale from 31st May 20x5. This is when the sale started. The project had been confirmed as feasible on 1st January 2025. So it is assumed that that on 1st January 2025 it is now feasible. So on this date the criteria has been met and the product produced by the project was expected to have a useful life of 5 years. Okay. So on 30th June, in the year ended 30th June, they have spent total 750,000 till 30th April 20x5. So from 1st July 20x4 to 30th April 20x5, they have spent 750,000. Okay, the expenses accrue evenly, so there is total 10 months. Okay, so each month they have spent 75,000 each month. Okay. Because the criteria met on 1st January, so from 1st January to 30th April, they need to capitalize the expense. This is 4 months. 75,000 into 4, this 3 lakh. This should be capitalized as an asset. Okay. And because they have started selling the asset on from 31st May, so from 31st May to 30th June, 1 month amortization will be done. The useful life of the project is basically 5 years, so 3 lakhs divided by 5 into 1 by 12. 1 month amortization would be 5,000. So the uh, asset will be recorded in the balance sheet at the carrying amount of 3 lakh minus 5, 295,000. So this is your, okay. This is also from intangible asset. Okay, kindly look at this question and solve it by yourself. They are also from intangible asset. This is from impairment, IS 36, question number 23. So the question requires you to calculate what is the balance of building following the impairment review. So what will be the carrying amount that will be recorded for building after the impairment? Okay, so a division of an entity has been following a balances in its financial statement, goodwill. This is basically carrying amount of the asset. Following a period, we need to find the recoverable amount, and we have to pay the asset by following the impairment rules. First, impairment will be allocated to the most obvious damage asset, then to the goodwill, and after them other cash generating units on pro rata basis or according to their weights. Following the period of losses, the recoverable amount of the division is deemed to be 4 million. Okay. And a recent valuation of the building showed that the building has a market value of 2.5 million. So because building has a market value of 2.5 million, so there is no need to impair the building. या तो आप वो देखें जिस पे इम्पेयरमेंट सबसे पहले लगनी है और वो भी आपने आइडेंटिफाई करना है जो कि ऑब्वियस एलिमिनेटर हैं, जैसे कि ये बिल्डिंग, ठीक है, क्योंकि इसकी रिकवरेबल अमाउंट फेयर वैल्यू ज़्यादा है, तो इट मीन्स हमने इम्पेयर नहीं करना. अदर नेट एसेट्स आर एट द रिकवरेबल अमाउंट, सो इस पे भी आपने इम्पेयरमेंट नहीं करनी, ये भी एज इट इज़ आ जाएगा. एंटिटी यूजेस द कॉस्ट मॉडल फॉर वैल्यूइंग द बिल्डिंग, तो आप कॉस्ट मॉडल यूज़ करें, इसलिए मैंने उसको उसी पे रखा है, उसको रीवैल्यू नहीं किया. ठीक है, अब हमने देखे कि पूरे डिवीजन की 4 मिलियन रिकवरेबल अमाउंट है. ओके, तो हम इसकी सबसे पहले कैरिंग अमाउंट देख लेते हैं कितनी है. तो इस वक्त इसकी कैरिंग अमाउंट है 5.18 मिलियन, लेकिन इसकी रिकवरेबल अमाउंट वो कह रहा है कि है वो 4 मिलियन. इट मीन्स हमने इम्पेयरमेंट करनी है, और इम्पेयरमेंट्स कितने की होगी, 1.18 मिलियन की इम्पेयरमेंट. तो हमारे पास मोस्ट ऑब्वियस डैमेज एसेट है नहीं इस वक्त, ठीक है, तो हम लोगों ने सबसे पहले जो इम्पेयरमेंट चार्ज करनी है वो गुडविल को चार्ज करनी है। इसका मतलब है इस 1.8 बिलियन में से 0.7 मिलियन तो यहाँ पे चला गया, ये इम्पेयरमेंट। अब हमने अनएलोकेटेड अमाउंट को प्लांट और इंटेंजिबल पे स्प्रेड करना है। तो from 1180 700 has been allocated. It means we need to allocate this 480 between this plant and intangible according to their weights. So what is the total weights? 950 plus 800. 1750. So for plant, the impairment will be 480 into 950 divided by 1750. And for intangible, this would be there is no need to find the impairment. Just the question requires you to calculate the carrying amount for building. So the carrying amount of building would be 2300, right? So there is no need to find the impairment for. Sorry for all this calculation. What if they have asked you to calculate the carrying amount of plant? So let's just check because I have done all this calculation. तो वेस्ट नहीं करते, थोड़ा सा और लर्न कर लेते हैं। तो इसकी अमोर्टाइजेशन जो होगी आपके पास, यही आपके पास इशू होता है जब आपकी इंटरेक्टिव क्लास होती है। तो जाहिर बात है आप मुझे बता देते हैं कि उसमें क्या होता है, क्योंकि जब मैं इंटरेक्टिव सेशन नहीं होता तो मुझे खुद चीज़ भूल जाती है कि मैं स्टार्ट क्या करना था। तो इस वजह से इंटरेक्टिव सेशन का फ़ायदा ये होता है कि आप, मैं इस तरह से टाइम वेस्ट नहीं कर सकता उसमें, फिर आप मुझे बता देते हैं कि क्वेश्चन की रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है, याद दिला देते हैं दोबारा से। तो इसकी इम्पेयरमेंट आपके पास लेस होगी 260571। तो अगर वो प्लांट का पूछता तो उसका आंसर होता 689429। और अगर इंटेंजिबल्स पे हमने इम्पेयरमेंट चार्ज करनी होती तो इंटेंजिबल्स पे इम्पेयरमेंट चार्ज होती 480 इंटू 800 डिवाइड बाई 1750 प्रो रेटा बेसिस। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन आपके पास है व्हाट इज द बैलेंस ऑन द प्लांट फॉलोइंग इम्पेयरमेंट। तो ऊपर मैंने क्वेश्चन जिस तरीके से कराया है आप वही कर लें। बेसिकली क्वेश्चन भी लगता है वही है, ठीक है, बिल्कुल वही है। तो क्वेश्चन की रिक्वायरमेंट के मुताबिक आपके पास आंसर आना है 689429। ये आपका आंसर होगा प्लांट का आफ्टर इम्पेयरमेंट। क्वेश्चन नंबर 25, a vehicle was involved in an accident exactly halfway through the year. The vehicle cost 10,000 and had a remaining useful life of 10 years at the start of the year. Following the accident, the expected present value of the cash flow associated with the vehicle was 3,400 and the fair value less cost to sell is 500. So first we have to determine the recoverable amount. Recoverable amount is basically higher of value in use this is the expected present value of cash flows. Okay, this is total value in use or the NRV. So in this question, our recoverable amount would be 6,500. Okay, so this is the answer 6,500 because question is requiring what is the recoverable amount of the vehicle from the accident. This is 6,500 is the answer. Okay, question number 27. Which of the following is not an indicator of impairment? So advances in technology environment in which an asset is employed have an adverse impact on future. Definitely, if new technology से आपकी पुरानी जो टेक्नोलॉजी है वो ऑब्सोलीट हो जाती है और उसकी जो वैल्यू है वो उतनी नहीं रहती तो ये इम्पेयरमेंट का इंडिकेटर है। एन इंक्रीज इन इंटरेस्ट रेट इंटरेस्ट रेट इंक्रीज होने से आपकी प्रेजेंट वैल्यू कम होती है, तो आपकी वैल्यू इन यूज कम हो जाती है। तो ये भी इंडिकेटर है। द कैरिंग अमाउंट ऑफ द एंटिटी ऑफ एन एंटिटीज नेट एसेट इज हायर देन द एंटिटीज नंबर ऑफ शेयर इन इशूड मल्टीप्लाई बाय शेयर प्राइस। तो ये भी ज़्यादा है, क्योंकि अगर आपके एसेट की कैरिंग अमाउंट कम है और ये आपके जो कैपिटल की वैल्यू है, ये एसेट की कैरिंग अमाउंट ज़्यादा है और कैपिटल की वैल्यू कम है, तो ये आपका ये भी इंडिकेटर ही है। इसको हम यूज़ करते हैं क्योंकि आपका अगर देखा जाए नेट एसेट्स, तो यहाँ पे आपके पास नेट एसेट्स का चांसेस है कि वो कम हो जाएंगे, इंपेयरमेंट करने की ज़रूरत है। एस्टिमेटेड नेट रियलाइजेबल वैल्यू ऑफ इन्वेंट्री हैज़ बीन रिड्यूस्ड ड्यू टू फायर ऑल्दो दिस वैल्यू इज ग्रेटर देन इट्स कैरिंग अमाउंट। ये आपके पास इंडिकेटर नहीं है। From this is also from impairment. Okay, this is from IFRS 5, held for sale. So, at what value should the property be reported in the statement of financial position as at 30th September 20x4? Question is from balance sheet. Okay, so at 30th September 20x3, the value of D property in its statement of financial position is comprised of the asset has a cost of 45 million to life of 15 years, and accumulated depreciation till date is 6 million. Okay, this is from the start of the balance. So from this we can identify the useful life consumed by the asset. Okay, on 1st April 2024, he decided to sell the property. The property is being marketed by the property agent at a price of 42 million, which was considered as reasonable, achievable price at that date. The expected cost to sell have been agreed at 1 million. Recent market transaction suggest that actual sale price achieved by this type of prototype in the current market in condition are 10% less than the price which they have marketed. At 30th September, the property has not been sold. Okay. So first see the criteria of IFRS 5. IFRS 5 is basically the property would be sold in its present condition. Sale is highly probable. Marketed as reasonable price, and the recognition measurement criteria is lower of carrying amount or NRV. IFRS 5. So this is the presentation criteria. Could be sold in present condition, highly probable. Management is committed to plan to sell the asset, marketed at reasonable price, okay, and the plan will not change subsequently. And the measurement criteria is basically lower of carrying amount or NRV. Okay. First, we need to determine the carrying amount at 1st April. Carrying amount at 1st April 20x4, because this is the date where the criteria of held for sale has been met. So we need to transfer that asset from IAS 16 to held for sale. Okay. So we have brought down the asset. The cost of asset was 14 million, and we have till this date we have depreciated the asset from 6 million. So let's just find out how many years have been passed. So per year depreciation would be 45 divided by 15. So per year depreciation is 3,000, because 3 million, this is 6 million. It means this is 2 years depreciation. Okay. So how many years? The useful life of asset was 15 years, and this is 2-year depreciation. So the remaining life of the asset on this date is 13 years. So we need to charge more depreciation, or we can also find it. So this is a per year depreciation. We need to find the depreciation of 6 months. 6 months depreciation 1500. So the total depreciation would be 45,000 minus brought down balance of depreciation minus 1500. So this is the carrying amount at the date of reclassification. Okay. So need to find the NRV at the date of reclassification, and we need to book at the lower of. So NRV would be 42 million minus 1 million, and we need to adjust this 10% adjustment because the actual price, sale price achieved for this type of property in the current market condition are less than 10%. So it's 42,000, 90% minus 1,000. Yes. Three six 800. So the asset will be recorded at this 36. Is the answer. Question number 33. According to IFRS 9, a non-current asset, according to IFRS 5, non-current asset held for sale and discontinued operation, which of the following amount in respect of discontinued operation must be shown in on the face of statement of profit and loss? फॉर डिसकंटिन्यूड ऑपरेशन रेवेन्यू हम उसको शो नहीं करते क्योंकि रेवेन्यू हमारे पास सिर्फ जो है कंटिन्यूइंग ऑपरेशन का आता है, ठीक है। हम ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट भी शो नहीं करते, वो भी कंटिन्यूइंग ऑपरेशन का आता है। हम तो सिंगल लाइन, आपको अगर याद हो क्वेश्चन, रिमेंबर हमने क्वेश्चन किया था कि डिसकंटिन्यूड ऑपरेशन, तो हम सिर्फ प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स फ्रॉम डिसकंटिन्यूड ऑपरेशन शो कर रहे हैं। ये डिसकंटिन्यूड की वर्किंग जो हमने वर्किंग की थी और उसको हमने यहाँ पे सिर्फ ये शो किया, तो बेसिकली हमारे पास क्या शो होता है, ये नहीं होता सेपरेटली शो, ये भी सेपरेट शो, सिर्फ हमारे पास ये शो हो रहा होता है प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स एज अ डिसकंटिन्यूड ऑपरेशन। Which of these sectors, if either, should be disclosed as discontinued operation in the current year? So there are two sectors, sector X and sector Y, और हमने देखना है कि किसको हमने disclose करना है as a discontinued operation. R has the following two lines of business that have been disposed of in the year. Sector X operated in a country. R has no other operation in country A, and sector X produced 0.5% of the total revenue. ऑल्दो ये आप डिसकंटिन्यूड ऑपरेशन है, लेकिन 0.5% एक इमटेरियल अमाउंट है, तो इसलिए हम उसको सेपरेटली डिस्क्लोज नहीं करेंगे बिकॉज ऑफ इमटेरियलिटी। Sector Y operated in the same country as the rural head office. It sold a different product from the other component of rural and contributed 10% of the revenue. So it's a material and it is basically as a discontinued operation. So it should be recorded as discontinued operation. Okay, I think that is these are the questions from conceptual framework, and for that you have to read the chapter for conceptual framework. I hope this help you. Uh, this whole lecture helped you how to attempt the question.